Tag the ports of the protected video VLAN on this transit node. Okay, great. You've done some configuration, so let's verify where we're at. We'll use the show EAPS detail and the show EAPS EAPS1 commands. Here we see that we have an EAPS1 domain in the transit mode, and it's got a primary and secondary port. Let's check out the VLANs now, both globally and then individually. If we look at Show VLAN, we see there is a Control VLAN, a Voice, and a Video VLAN with the proper tags. If we look at Show VLAN Control _ EAPS1, we see it has a tag of 100 and ports 1 and 2 tagged. Looking at VLAN Voice _ EAPS1, we see it has a tag of 2222. And again, it has ports 1 and 2 tagged. And VLAN Video _ EAPS, same thing. We have a tag of 3333, and we have ports 1 and 2 tagged. Great job.
We've completed the basic configuration, and now it's time to enable EAPS. On each switch, associate the VLANs with an EAPS domain and enable the protocol on the ring. Here's a list of the commands we'll be using and their syntax. Click on the master node to bring up the console window. Begin the process of enabling EAPS on the master node by adding the control VLAN. Enter the command to add the protected voice traffic VLAN. Enter the command to add the protected VLAN for video traffic. Now you'll enter the commands to enable EAPS globally and then for the EAPS1 domain. We've just enabled EAPS on the master node. Click on SBox 3 Transit node to bring up the console window, and we'll enable EAPS on the transit node. Enter the command to add the control VLAN to the EAPS1 domain on the transit node. Enter the command to add a protected VLAN for voice traffic. Enter the command to add the protected VLAN for video traffic. Now we'll enter the commands to enable EAPS globally and then enable EAPS for the EAPS1 domain. After completing this step, you've successfully enabled EAPS on the transit switch. Let's verify the master node. Here we can see EAPS is enabled, and we can see there's one EAPS domain. Also, we can see that the state is complete, that there's a control VLAN called control _ EAPS1.
Again, we see it's the master node, it's enabled, it's a complete state, and the secondary port is blocked. We see the expiry action is set to send alert. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And here you have a list of the control VLAN and the 2 protected VLANs. Let's verify EAPS is enabled on the transit node. Using show EAPS detail, we see it's enabled, and there's one instance. It's EAPS1. It's in a links up state, and there's a control VLAN called control_EAPS1. Also here we see the state is links up, and both ports are up. Here we see the hello timer, the fail timer, and here we see a list of the VLANs. There's a control VLAN and 2 protected VLANs. Now that EAPS is enabled, let's simulate a links down situation so that we can see how the switches respond. Here we see we've disabled the port 1 and we get a links down flag from the transit node. Looking back at the master node, we see the state is complete before this port is disabled. Once it's disabled, it goes into a failed state. You can see it also through the show EAPS1. It goes to failed on the master node. And look at port 2. It's up. Let's restore port 1 on the transit node. We go from links down to a links up state. If you use show EAPS1, you'll see again the state was failed on the master node and the port was up for port 2. Once it's restored, the state is complete on the master node, and you'll notice that port 2 is now blocked.